Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, released in 1986. Directed by Tobe Hooper, who helmed and co-wrote the original, TCM 2 is a very different film from its predecessor because Hooper was adamant about doing something different. He didn't want to just make the same movie again, and I respect the hell out of that. So the sequel features a greater emphasis on the dark humor that was only just barely there in the first film. As if you couldn't guess that from the poster that features the Sawyer family parodying The Breakfast Club. This second movie also has a heck of a lot more gore, which tends to be what happens when you hire Tom Savini for special makeup effects. In fact, many of the Texas Chainsaws going forward are so gory that I'm gonna have to give them the old Saw treatment, which means I'll be taking some of the blood and guts out of the public releases of these Kill Count episodes. I'll have more explicit versions with all of the bloody bits available for all of my patrons, even those who are only at a single $1 a month. So if you want to see that, sign up at patreon.com/deadmeatjames. If you don't want to or can't do that, don't worry about it. It's just gore. All the jokes and everything else is the same. I really wish I didn't have to do this, but YouTube is my job and I've got to play by their rules. Although Texas Chainsaw 2 has a drastically different tone and swaps out hippies for yuppies when it comes to the victims, it's still a faithful sequel to the first film in terms of story and characters. Jim Sedow returns as the cook, Drayton Sawyer, and Bill Moseley's character, Chop Top, is apparently the twin brother of Nubbins the Hitchhiker. Moseley actually got this role after making a parody short film called The Texas Chainsaw Manicure, in which he played the hitchhiker.
Hey, that's great, honey. We should celebrate with some head cheese.
Hooper saw it, liked it, and cast him when it came time to make the sequel. Leatherface also returns, although he's now played by Bill Johnson instead of Gunnar Hansen, since the franchise's new studio, the Cannon Group, couldn't come to an agreement about Hansen's payment. Leatherface is given a budding romantic interest in Stretch, played by the kick-ass Caroline Williams, and the cast is rounded out by Dennis frickin' Hopper as a deranged vigilante sheriff. If you think all of that sounds weird, just wait until you see how fucking ridiculous Chop Top is. With the Sawyer family back on the meat grind, how many victims will they claim this time around? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie begins with another title crawl, which summarizes the events of the first film and says that Johnny Law never found evidence of any crime. I wonder if they ever tracked down that semi-truck driver, or if that dude's still running. You know, this is a great title crawl and all, but could we maybe get a title card? Yeah, that's more like it. Our much more active heroine this time through is Stretch, played by Caroline Williams, who was last seen on the Kill Count in Leprechaun 3. She was the one who got all her naughty bits inflated by the little shit. Stretch is a hip radio DJ in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who's just trying to do her job, even though today she keeps getting call-ins from these bro-ish yahoos Buzz and Rick. That is, when they're not too busy recklessly shooting firearms off at government property. Hey, our taxes paid for that sign, buddy. Buzz is the guy who looks like he gets a boner while hazing freshmen, while Rick the Prick is that gun-toting asshole in the Greg Raymer glasses who just can't stop doing an annoying laugh. Fun fact for any fellow LA Public Radio fans, Rick the Prick is played by Chris Doritas, who hosted Morning Becomes Eclectic in the 90s and who hired current MBE host Jason Bentley. After a long day of playing chicken with the truck-driving locals, these assholes call Stretch back later that night to annoy her some more.
He wants to hear bright lights, big titties. Wrong. I don't want to hear it. I want to see it. Bright lights, big titties. Yay!
Their good time prank around ends when they run into that truck from earlier on a bridge. The truck starts driving backwards and keeping pace with them while Oingo Boingo plays No One Lives Forever. As proof of those lyrics, the truck occupants show these college boys the corpse of Nubbins the Hitchhiker. It's creepy as all hell, to be honest, and it looks like Leatherface is the one behind all this body moving, because in no time at all, we hear the A1 sound of a chainsaw, and the sound's so soothing. While Leatherface was played by Bill Johnson and stunt performer Bob Elmore in the rest of this movie, for this scene he was played by stunt performer Tom Morga. Sound familiar? If he does, it's because he played Michael Myers in the first half of Halloween 4 and also played Jason Voorhees in the dream sequences of Friday the 13th: A New Beginning, making him the only actor to play Michael, Jason, and Leatherface. And he was also a very nice gentleman when I met him last fall. After a very exciting scene on the longest bridge in Texas, Leatherface cuts into the car with his chainsaw while Stretch and her coworker LG hear all the mayhem through the phone. Rick's firearm proves ineffective against Leatherface's body shield, and Leatherface ends up killing them both. Buzz's death is revealed in a great way, with Rick the Prick taking a minute to realize his buddy just got his brain sawed into, courtesy of that chainsaw. Damn, don't ever try to be a hairdresser, Leatherface, that's way too much off the top. For this kill, they used a balloon underneath a prosthetic scalp made by makeup artist John Bullich and worn by actor Barry Kenyon. When they'd inflate the balloon, the scalp would slide off. It's pretty dope. As for Rick the Prick, we never get to see him die, nor his body after the fact, but we do see his Fossil Man glasses at the crash site the next day, and you know he'd only take those off over his dead body. The crash site is examined by Lieutenant Lefty Enright, played by Dennis Hopper, just weeks before his career got a shot in the arm from Blue Velvet. Lefty is revealed to be the uncle of Sally and Franklin from the first film, and although this place is outside his jurisdiction, he's out here looking for revenge, and not buying the official local law enforcement story that this was just a fatal accident caused by wild youth.
Yep. One of those boys so wild sawed his own head off going 90 miles per hour.
Stretch goes and finds Lefty because of a story about him in the paper, tracking him down to a hotel that's got a pretty killer party cowboy scene that even director Tobe Hooper can't help but check out. There he goes with his trademark cigar and Dr. Pepper. Rest in peace, man. Lefty says he doesn't have time for Stretch's interference, even if she did record an audio tape of the Bridge Boys butchering. He kicks her out, saying she's got no place in all this. But Stretch wants to help solve these crazy murders. It'd be much more fulfilling work than covering the state's chili cook-off, especially since the same dude wins every year.
Drayton Sawyer!
Yeah, that skeezy cook bastard is back, getting his name cheered on as he accepts his award dressed like Danny DeVito in Matilda. And what makes his chili so good?
It's the meat. Don't skimp on the meat. I got a real good eye for prime meat. Runs in the family.
Yo, y'all eating people, son. Lefty, who doesn't yet know about the Sawyers, can still sense that he's close, so he goes to a local chainsaw shop and gets himself one big boy and a pair of mini mulchers, freaking out the poor local store owner.
Oh, my kid banana.
Oh yeah, this will do nicely indeed. Lefty goes to Stretch's radio station and puts in a morbid request. He wants her to play that snuff tape she has live on her show that night to convince local authorities that the Chainsaw Massacres are real. Maybe then he could get some help tracking down the killers. After she obliges, Drayton gets a car phone call about it from his brothers, and he is not too happy about this public airing of how the sausage gets made. That night, after signing off, Stretch hears a noise from the radio station office, and when she goes out to see what it is, she meets the most memorable part of this movie, Bill Moseley as Chop Top Sawyer. If you thought the hitchhiker was unnerving, just wait until you meet his twin brother here.
I know what you're thinking. This is weird, huh? But I can handle it.
I don't know if I can handle it, dude, even if we both do love music.
Music is my life.
Stretch is all sorts of creeped out by this weirdo, and no wonder. He's standing there using a coat hanger to snag himself some scalp snacks. Even though this visit is apparently a first for him,
You know, I've never been to a radio station before.
she still tries to usher him out, both by using subtle social cues
Good night.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
and by acquiescing to the studio tour he wants, where she shows him all the important things that go into running a radio station.
Rubber man.
Rubber man, I like him.
Armadillo.
Oh,
Here's Mr. Shark.
Mr. Shark.
Eventually, the tour winds up at the record vault.
The new music.
Leatherface's jump scare knocks Chop Top down and exposes the metal plate he has underneath his scalp, which he apparently got in Vietnam during the events of the first film. That explains all the scratching, I guess. It don't make the eating part any less gross, though. Bill Moseley was a trooper who would do absolutely anything for this role. When they asked him if he could shave his head to help shorten the makeup process down to only 3 to 4 hours, he did so without question.
So they wanted me to shave my head, and so I would have shaved my ass and walked backwards for that part.
Stretch is able to escape into a back storeroom, and while Leatherface runs into some chainsaw problems against the metal door, LG returns to the station from a coffee run. Inside the office, he finds Chop Top making a mess in the record vault, and also being a real rude dude.
Hey, lick my plate, you dogged it!
While LG is distracted by Chop Top's antics, Leatherface comes from behind and knocks him to the floor, allowing Chop Top to go absolutely ham on his head with a hammer. He just really wallops on him there with that thing. It's pretty gross. Leatherface heads back to the metal door and tries to dance it open, and when that doesn't work, he just Kool-Aid Mans through the wall and starts swiping wildly at Stretch. What follows is one of the most bizarre and memorable scenes in the entire franchise, right after Leatherface gets done wrecking the radio station's soda supply for their upcoming company barbecue. Rude. Stretch gets him to power down his chainsaw by telling him he's not really mad at her. In fact, hey Leatherface, yo, you kinda like her, don't you?
How good are you?
It's a scene you could write 100 term papers about, as Leatherface shows impotence with his weapon of choice in the face of a powerful woman willing to challenge his authority. Or maybe he just likes putting his chainsaw there and getting compliments about it.
You're really good.
Yeah, that really just happened. Even Leatherface actor Bill Johnson knew this scene was something else, man.
The ice tub scene is a little, delicate.
The excitement gets to be too much for Leatherface, and he revs the chainsaw up again to assist him in his ritualistic mating dance. But after a saw swipe to the left and a pelvic thrust that really drives him insane, he leaves Stretch and returns to his brother, who he promptly lies to.
You got her? Did you get her good?
Oh well, anything for a high five from your older bro, right? They take LG's body and drive off with it in the back of their truck, and Stretch wastes no time getting in her Jeep and following them, earning herself a little psycho nod while she drives. She follows them to the Texas Battleland, an abandoned amusement park / nightmare land that we'll be spending the rest of this movie at. So settle in, motherfuckers. Stretch gets out of her car and follows the Sawyer truck on foot before she's chased by another car into a cool little tunnel thing. What's that thing made out of? Dinosaur ribs? The car chasing her ends up being Lefty, but before they can properly reunite, Stretch is dropped through a trapdoor in the ground, tumbles down a dirt chute, slides down a dirty slide, and falls through a dirt floor. Lefty would, rather not do all of that, so he just gets his chainsaws, says a prayer, and rushes into this bizarre amusement park screaming like a madman. Stretch wakes up in an underground meat cellar and hides behind a barrel when she hears someone coming. Turns out it's the Sawyer boys, Drayton, Chop Top, and Leatherface, who they call Bubba in this movie. They leave Bubba to work on stripping the clothes and then skin off of LG's body, while Stretch watches in horror. Aw, and then Bubba takes off LG's face too? Is that an order for Nick Cage or John Travolta, Bubba? Leatherface eventually finds Stretch hiding, but can't bring himself to kill her after she tells him no good. Instead, he keeps Stretch hidden from his siblings, as Chop Top does a damn good Drayton Sawyer impression.
You gotta run for that money now, chase that dollar, gotta go fast to catch it. You
Dumb baboons are too dumb to even feel I'm tired of kicking your asses.
To keep his new girlfriend super hidden and safe, he adorns her with LG's face. Good God, that is the grossest act of kindness I've ever seen. Yeah, the hat doesn't make it any better, Bubba. And I really don't think she's in a dancing mood right now, dude. He ties her up and leaves her to do more Leatherface work, whatever that entails. And after he's gone, we see that LG is somehow still alive, though presently lacking a face. Hey, Stretch, is that my face you got on your face? LG's makeup in this scene was another huge endeavor, headed by makeup artist Gino Crognali. They had to make molds and casts of a bunch of his body parts, and the application process took so long that LG's actor Lou Perryman, who was an assistant cam op on the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by the way, would come to set at 2 in the morning and just sleep on a slab while they applied them. Everyone on this movie was super pumped to be on this movie. LG weakly offers to cut Stretch loose, which would be great if he could just adopt a less stabby method there. But he gets her free eventually, before collapsing to the ground and uttering his last words. He finally dies from being skinned alive, and as a sign of respect, Stretch removes his hat and his face. There, just like new again. All better. Stretch exits the cellar into a huge area full of meat and meat smoke, and from here on out, we get to enjoy the insanely detailed production design done by Carrie White, who also built these sets. I love how these spaces are filled with festive lights as we watch the familial turmoil of the Sawyers. Drayton complaining about small business taxes, while Chop Top dances around with his dead twin brother, Nubbins. Meanwhile, Lefty has been taking an open house tour of the place and is not impressed with what he finds. Why, that wall is not regulated to hold loose piles of innards like that. Since Lefty's an adamant believer in housing codes, he knows what has to be done.
Bring it on!
His anger is reignited a little later when he comes across the corpse of his nephew Franklin. Damn, and those batteries still running? They must be energizers that keep going and going and going, kinda like this franchise. He gets back to work, and his support beam sawing gets the attention of the Sawyers. In the excitement that follows, Chop Top probably would have seen Stretch if he wasn't too busy rehearsing his latest hit single, Nomland. Pretty catchy, huh, Stretch? And he even does his own pyrotechnics. But Drayton has put his pop music career behind him, so he does notice Stretch running around their tunnels and tells his younger brothers to go find her. Stretch runs through the park's tunnels, which are not only full of interesting bone furniture that was made by prop master Michael Sullivan, but are also chock full of more lights, which was actually a pragmatic solution to lighting these tunnels during these chase scenes. They had to dress and light nearly a quarter-mile of tunnels for all these scenes. Once again, the production designer, in this case Carrie White, is majorly responsible for this movie's effectiveness. Leatherface pops out and does his little hip shake some more, then chases Stretch to a dead end and holds her there until his brothers arrive. Drayton accuses Stretch of being the cause of all this structural destruction going on until Chop Top recognizes her from the radio station. But wait a minute, she shouldn't be alive. Leatherface, you got some splaining to do. Bubba doesn't even need to say anything, cause Chop Top figures it out all on his own.
Bubba's got a girlfriend.
Oh, sorry about my family. Didn't get to pick them. Drayton doesn't approve of the relationship because to him, the business is more important.
You got one choice, boy. Sex or the saw. Sex is, well, nobody knows. But the saw is family.
I don't know if you're the best judge in this situation, Drayton. I mean, can you even spell sex?
S-C-E-X. Sex.
Close, but no. Under Drayton's orders, Chop Top takes a bone and knocks Stretch out with it, and when she comes to, well, I hope you like leftovers, cause we've got another goddamn dinner scene to get through. And you know no dinner scene would be complete without Grandpa. He is the best at killing. Grandpa is looking great for his age of 137.
Grandpa's strict liquid diet keeps him as fresh as a rose.
It also probably helps that he was once again played by a younger dude, Vietnam vet Tom Evers, wearing makeup that took 9 hours to apply, made by John Gvojic. Drayton tries to explain the history of the meat industry to Stretch, but she's not a very good dinner guest. Because of her poor table manners, Drayton calls Stretch's number, even with Leatherface reluctant to serve his new girlfriend. But Bubba's a baby, so after stealing a kiss, not cool Leatherface, he brings Stretch over to the paper-thin patriarch because once again, we need to stop. Cause it's hammer time! You know, as long as Grandpa can keep it in his hand. Oh, he can't? That's okay. At least he's got a ladle to lick and a coat hanger. Chop Top scalp. Grandpa eventually gets his shit together and hits Stretch once with the hammer, but he's unable to finish the job, so Drayton has to take over. Damn, that was painful to watch. Sounds like a good time for crazy-ass Lefty to join the fray.
Boys. What the hell's going on here? That's the American way of entering a man's home.
Lefty tells the Sawyers that he's here for vengeance, and it's gonna take more than some of their meat money to make him go away.
I'm the Lord of the Harvest.
Who's that? Some new health food bunch?
Stretch raises her head and gets Lefty's attention, so now it's righteous chainsaw time. First, Lefty saws into Drayton's butt, sending him spiraling under the table like a dog in shame, and then he uses it to cut Stretch free. Lefty and Leatherface get into a motherfucking chainsaw fight, which is one of the coolest things imaginable, while Stretch makes a getaway with Chop Top right behind her. As the extended chainsaw sequence plays out overhead, Drayton complains about the plight of small business owners again before realizing the extent of his injury.
Sure burned my beans bad on that one.
Above him, Lefty lands a gut shot on Bubba and really digs in there deep until it's popping out the other side. Gnarly. Then it's double mini chainsaw time. Drayton, knowing things are lost, grabs Nubbins' corpse and pulls out a grenade from the knapsack around his neck. Neck sack? No. He pulls the pin and drops it, and since we see Grandpa, Leatherface, Drayton himself, and the hootin' hollerin' Lefty all right next to it when it explodes behind Stretch and Chop Top on their way out, I'll count all 4 of these these dudes on the list. We never see 3 of them again, and as for Leatherface, I don't know, man. The sequels aren't concerned with continuity from here on out. Trust me. Stretch has been chased out of the park by now, and apparently all these shenanigans lasted the whole goddamn night, since now it's bright and shining outside. She fends off Chop Top with many a kick, including one that nearly sends him careening down the side of this place. And eventually, she gets to the top of the mountain where she finds Grandma, or, you know, what's left of her anyway. I don't know, maybe she just forgot to put on her ruby necklace. Chop Top pulls himself together and comes into the mountaintop shrine where his favored method of intimidating Stretch appears to be cutting his own neck? Okay. Alright, dude, we get the point. 1 slice was enough to prove you were crazy. 3 is just showing off.
It's like death eating a cracker.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Stretch grabs the chainsaw from Grandma's corpse, and although Chop Top slashes her a bunch as she's trying to get it started, he doesn't ultimately prevent her from revving up the blade and cutting into his torso with it. The attack sends him careening backwards down the mountainside, and hey, what the hell, I'll put him on the list. We'll never see him again, and might as well give this movie the little boost in numbers. The movie ends with Stretch replicating Leatherface's chainsaw dance from the first movie, but hers is on top of a mountain, so like points for altitude, I guess?
How many kills did we get in this crazy sequel to a classic? I'll tell you at the numbers, because counting kills is my life.
By my generous counting, 8 people died in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. All of them were men of varying ages and facilities, giving us a completely blueberry meat pie. And with a runtime of 101 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 12.63 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Buzz, definitely. He got his head sawed in half while driving. That's insane. Oh, and fun fact, those are Tom Savini's hands in this super gory shot. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Rick the Prick, since we didn't even get to see a body. Come on, Texas Chainsaw, show us the massacre. And that's it. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 came out in 1986 and was released by the Cannon Group unrated after the MPAA wanted to give it an X. Next week is Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. But until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count. I want to thank some patrons like James Piper, Eric Tyrone Graves, William Thompson, and David Holland. TCM2 is very divisive, but I have come to absolutely love this movie. It's fucking hilarious, and Bill Moseley is amazing. You can ask Chelsea, I've been doing the Chop Top voice non-stop for the past week.
Music is my life. Dog will hunt. Dog will hunt. Thanks everybody, be good people.
Nomland!